welcome, or hopefully it's welcome back to USA Global TV and Radio. Our show today is A Woman's Prerogative. I'm Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, the president, founder, and chief listening officer here at our network. Our topic is a continuation of last week. If you happen to miss the show, go over to our YouTube channel, USA Global TV and Radio, and go to the playlist A Woman's Prerogative. Our topic is When I Look in the Mirror, I See. We're going to be exploring this topic not just with me, but with our lovely panel. And I'm going to bring them out now. Joining us all the way in the future in New Zealand, it's transformation and leadership coach, Mariska. Hello.
Hello.
I'm super excited to see you. And for those who don't know, Maria's backstage. Mariska and I have written a book together that will be launched on the 14th. We just got the final illustrations, and I am in love with this book. So thank you for taking this journey. Mariska, we're following up from our topic from last week. What's one or two things that you remember about your takeaways from the show?
Well, let's see. One of the things that since the show I've been reflecting on was what my clothing do to my body. So the stuff of the different types of clothes that I wear, how my body sort of interacts with it. So yeah, it's been an interesting experience for me after our show, going back and reflecting a little bit on exactly what happens to me, how I think about things, and myself. One of the topics that I remember we touched on was looking at ourselves in the mirror and sometimes finding ourselves looking not the way that we expect. So maybe too skinny, or maybe too fat, or maybe something in between. And that got me thinking about just my clothing as well, because I remember my mom once saying that whatever clothing size that you decide to wear, stick to that one. If it's too tight, lose weight. So yes, that's hence the reason why I was thinking about clothing in that way. And yeah, I am excited to jump into this topic today.
Well, thank you. And thanks for sharing that. We will definitely touch on that as well. And also coming back, it's late there in Africa, and she just finished the spelling bee. I know her brain has to be like on fire from spitting out those words so quickly. It's JENETTA Barry and the Epiphany Process. Welcome. How are you feeling after the spelling bee? Are you exhausted?
Yeah, brain addled.
And it's 11 o'clock at night there, right?
It's 11 o'clock at night here, yeah. Finishing
well, your husband's
midnight.
A good sport. So
yes, because we're fairly open plan here, so I think he has a pillow over his head going, okay, I can't hear you, I can't hear you, I can't hear you.
JENETTA is
does
all
that
the way
anyway,
in Africa. JENETTA, any thoughts that you have when it comes to body image? I mean, you work with people all the time, and this is obviously an issue, especially for women, not just women, but what comes to mind?
Definitely when one is in extreme judgment on whichever way you perceive you are or aren't. I've seen people who are extremely thin stand in front of that mirror going, I'm extremely fat, and they genuinely can only see fat there. And then I've worked with people who stand in front of the mirror and they're going, I'm not that fat, I'm actually quite thin. And they do have, you know, a few more extra pounds, stones, kilos, whatever you measure yourself in, than they realize. And working with people like that is a really interesting one in weight-wise. On a personal level, if I reflect back, and since last week's show, when I reflect back, there was a window in my life where whenever I looked in the mirror or had a photograph taken, I felt absolutely fabulous. And that was as I turned 50 to about 54. It just felt like everything, or part of my, what I perceived I ought to be, had gelled into that place. And then it started changing again. And the other thing that made me realize is that most of my life I've had photos taken where when they were taken, I'd look at them and go, oh, I hate that photograph. And I'd throw it to one side. And then several years later, look at it and go, well, actually, it was all right. So that window period of 4 years, I didn't do that. And it's really very interesting whether I didn't do it or whether I really felt I was okay in that stage in my value system and perceptions. It's such an interesting one to look at because we change all the time in what we think should or shouldn't be.
So true. Yes. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm excited to bring out our two guests. I do want to say hello to our two panelists who are not here today, Dr. DESZIREE Richardson and Dr. Madeleine Chan. We miss you and look forward to seeing you next time. Joining us also hot off the spelling bee, Caroline Hewer, the Harley Street stress expert, also biting her nails to the quick. I'm kidding. She did a great job. And she's joining us as a guest today. She helps people bust their stress. Welcome to the program.
I'm pleased to be here. I'm hoping this is going to be light relief after the spelling bee.
Well, I'm glad to see the two competitors are both laughing. You're right next to each other. You're still friends. That's a good thing.
Oh, of course. I was absolutely praising the fact that you got one right. Because neither of us were getting very many rights. And so I was happy for you.
I have to say it was a lot of fun. We're going to talk about a serious topic today, like weight and how we see ourselves. But we did have a lot of fun on that spelling bee. So thank you both for doing that. I really appreciate it. And we've got another guest backstage. She was here with us last week for the discussion. And guess what? She became a team member. She's an elevated listener. I'm so excited. Maria Eduardo, come on out. Hello. You're on mute.
I am mute. Hi. Happy to be back.
So happy to have you. And thank you for joining the team and jumping in like that. Maria, tell our audience what it is that you do and the value that you bring to people.
Yes, so I'm an entrepreneur. I also do volunteer work in St. Martin, where I'm from. I collaborate with other organizations and do volunteer work. I was recently crowned also second place in the Face of Women of Heart Awards. And I empower women and young girls in my country and around the world.
Fantastic. Well, thank you again for being here. And we actually have a comment from the lovely Dr. DESZIREE. It's the mindset of what you expect to see before seeing yourself in the mirror. Yes, very true. Very true. So I'll start off with just a share of something that happened today, and I have to keep it a little high level. So I do the same workout. It's a class. I go somewhere and I do this specific class, and there's only 14 people that can do the class because there's 14 machines. And I'm a lot older than most of the people. And because of this type of workout, most people are wearing midriff tops and you can see their stomachs. And of course, I'm always wearing 2 shirts, but I really push myself as hard as I possibly can. I'm dripping with sweat. My whole body's shaking. So I'm aware of the fact that I'm bigger than most of the people. I'm older than most of the people. And it used to bother me, but I really just focus on getting stronger and putting on more weight. Well, today there was a former Olympian who was next to me and said to me afterwards, "You are super strong." That was really impressive. And that totally, I don't know, just because that person said something, even though I was in the same room doing the same thing that I'm always doing, I just felt totally different. And I thought it doesn't matter what size I am compared to other people. I really focus on being strong, and that's important to me. So it shifted my mindset, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone want to comment or say anything that comes to mind?
Yes.
Yeah, that's Caroline, you go.
That's validation. You know, when somebody validates you and
gives you some feedback that you're welcoming and receiving from the place it's being given, that validation can make you feel good. And that's probably why people do validate, especially somebody that's a sports person, because they will have an understanding and an appreciation of what you're doing and how hard you're working to get where you are.
Thank you, Caroline. Appreciate it. Jenetta?
Yeah, I was going to say that again is what Dr. Desiree was saying, and I was saying earlier, which is whatever your perception of yourself is in that space time, and then it just needs somebody else to show a different perspective, and suddenly you see yourself in a different light, and yet it's still you. And that's the thing, it's changing that internal conversation.
Yeah, it's so true. So true. Just another thing I'll add, and then we'll go over to somebody else. So when it comes to looking in the mirror, I've been through a lot of changes in the last few months. I was fasting for 16 hours a day. I think I told you, no sugar, no caffeine, no this, no that. Then I got this health diagnosis and I had to go on these medications. And I have 4 more days on prednisone, but now I don't fast. I'm eating 3 meals a day. I'm eating sugar. I'm like a little out of control, and I don't care because I feel happier. I'm working out a lot more than I was, but when I gave up all those things, I really wasn't too happy about it, but I was thinner. I was leaner, I would say, but I wasn't as strong. So I just think, to your point, Jenetta, we change as life goes on, and maybe one day that's okay, and maybe this is okay now, and maybe tomorrow it'll be something else. Maria Eduardo, what do you think?
Yes. So I would say, for someone who empower others, how can you do so if you yourself are not feeling empowered? If you're not feeling encouraged, how can you tell others that they can look in the mirror and see their reflection and see smartness, see happiness, see success, see worth? We have to practice what we preach, and that's basically what I do. So to empower others, I should also be empowered.
Excellent. Excellent. Great point. Thank you. How about you, New Zealand?
I love the fact that somebody else mentioned what they thought. There's so many times, I think, that we go through life, we see something, and we don't know what's going on for that other person, but we might appreciate something, right? Somebody is wearing a dress that sits especially flattering, or they have something on, or they do something, like, for instance, with you in the gym. You did something and it's admirable. They admire what you're doing. And we look at it and we don't say anything because we are in our own head, or there's other stuff going on for us. And if we take the time and we say something, it can help the other person as much as it is a gift from us. And it's a small little gift, but it's a gift still. So I commend the person that actually said something to you, Dr. Jacqueline, and helped you to see that what you're doing is really great. I mean, we don't say it enough to each other.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And, I did go and I found this person on social media, and I sent them a message saying, by the way, I was feeling a little low, and your comment really picked me up. And, thank you for your inspiration. Keep doing what you're doing, because this person's very well known. But it just did something for me. And to your point, why can't we just say something nice to someone, and just without getting anything for it? But it really makes a difference. It could change a person's entire day or mindset.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. And I bet next time you go to the gym, you'll think of that comment, even if the person's not there.
Absolutely. Yeah, I definitely will. So back to Dr. Desiree's comment about mindset. So before we even look in the mirror, we have an idea of how we perceive we're going to look. And I've shared this before. My father, may rest in peace, he used to say all the time, he would say, when he looks in the mirror, he's like, damn, I look good. And my mother, my sister and I was like, oh, I look hard. We're always like picking ourselves apart. But I'm not saying that it's gender specific, but there are some people who, to your point earlier, maybe they're carrying a few extra pounds, or maybe someone else perceives that they're not in the best shape. Maybe even the doctor said, hey, you need to lose some weight, but they look in the mirror and they think, yeah, I look just really good. What are your thoughts about that?
I'll go first for this one.
Okay.
So for me, I think it is a lot about how we see things and how we perceive things. And as you were talking, I was thinking, you know how sometimes, I don't know for other people, but for me, sometimes I wake up in the morning and I have this tune in my head and life just in general feels good. Now, when I look in the mirror on that day, nothing's wrong, right? Even if there is a little extra bump somewhere, I'm not too worried about it. Don't care about it. I'm happy. And then other days, I might wake up and not feel as great. Maybe had a late night, didn't sleep properly, whatever the case might be. But I'll wake up and I'll be like, okay, today just feels a little bit, no. And then when I look in the mirror, I might start picking at stuff that's not necessarily necessary to pick at all. So that's something that I've noticed for myself. So my internal being at that point in time sort of becomes an external being, which I'm sure, Caroline, you will be able to teach us all about that, that I then perceive in the mirror. And I'm sure it's not only me, or I hope it's not only me.
Thank you. Caroline, would you like to comment?
Yeah, I'd like to add to that. Perception is projection. And so whatever you perceive, whatever you think you are, that's what you will see. And even the slimmest of people, this is how we have people suffering with things like anorexia, for instance, where they don't think that they're very thin, and so they're doing everything they can to lose weight. It's because whatever they see from inside their mind's eye is what they see, and they will never see that they're very small and very, very, bony. They will only see that they've got that few extra pounds. So whatever you're thinking you are is exactly what shows up for you, no matter what is there in the mirror. And it is about, I always think that we look in the mirror because we're usually looking to check our hair, to check our makeup for women, to check the way that our dress looks or our jacket, but we're never really checking into ourselves. One of the practices that I share is to look in the mirror and say, I love you, to look in your eyes and literally fall in love with yourself. And it's not that easy because we don't do that. Most of us don't look for that love in ourselves. We're looking for it external to ourselves to make ourselves feel good. And when we get those compliments and that feedback, then it makes us feel good. But what about if we turn that 360 degrees on its head and feel good for no good reason? Feel good because we're feeling good. That's to quote one of Tony Robbins' sayings, is that it's about the internal, about what you feel inside, and not actually what represents on the outside is what's really going on and how you really feel.
So I want to follow that up with a question. So what if, according to the doctor, you're in the right weight category, according to society, people are, oh, look how attractive he or she is. You have everything on the outside, but on the inside, you just can't stand yourself. So that all the work that you put on the outside really has no meaning because you don't like yourself.
There's a lot of superstars and celebrities that have been going through the same kind of thing. You know, they have the money and then they keep going through different cosmetic surgeries, you know, and making their breast size bigger, you know, changing their facial features. And it doesn't solve that problem of that internal feeling. And they just have the money to do it. It's actually about dealing with what's going wrong on the inside, because people can be beautiful on the outside and they can also be beautiful on the inside, and it's the inside that makes the outside very beautiful.
Thank you. JENETTA?
I like that. And that's spot on. And I think that's the big thing, is that when we're looking to somebody we perceive we've elevated and perceived are superior or better than us, then it's very, very difficult to see when they have those moments that Mariska was talking about, because that's part of being human. So we marginalize that they must never have moments like that, that they're the example setters and they never have their moments of feeling doubtful. And for me, it's about being able, as the example setter, that they're able to say, you know, I have my moments where I don't feel super fabulous about myself, but I'm working on it. And I think when that humanness is allowed in, with those role models, so that they don't have to be super perfect, then new conversations can start happening, and those are the people to follow, because you're allowed that margin of the days you feel okay about yourself and the days you don't, because they're going to happen. And then finding the skills to deal with both, so that they're both manageable, so that you're not going, oh my word, I'm super fabulous, and then the next day you're sitting there going, I'm a load of. And our role models, if they could start being more human rather than trying to be super duper perfect, that would make a big difference to all that we're talking about now.
Absolutely. Great shares. Thank you. We've got another comment from the doctor. Yes, 100%. How we feel on the inside expresses the outer look. I think that's what you meant. Yes, for sure. So what if we just decided to eliminate mirrors? No mirrors in the house, no mirror in the car, no mirror in the handbag. Would life be different?
I would die.
So do you
I'm being really feminine about this. If I don't have a mirror, I'm like sort of cracking up.
Okay, so let's dive into that. By
Same.
the way, we have our friend Buster, who just joined us from the last show. Thanks for coming back, Louise. So, Caroline, when you're talking about the mirror, do you rely on the mirror for certain things, or do you feel that you need to be able to look at yourself?
I used to not feel very comfortable looking in a mirror. I've had to do a lot of work on myself to get to that point. And in doing that work, I now feel good to look in a mirror. But it wasn't like that previously. I used to hate looking at myself. And now I'm kind of saying, oh, there's a few pounds there, you know, and oh, I've lost a few pounds here, and oh, you know, I've lost a bit of weight, you know, and oh, my hair needs checking. But I'm actually really looking at myself and being genuine with it, and making sure that I am looking after myself. So it's kind of, for me, it's a bit of feedback. I have mirrors all over the place. In my there's a mirror in every single room, apart from the office. So it's important feedback for me, because I feel comfortable to check in the mirror.
So it sounds like what I'm hearing you say is you like what you see now.
Yeah, I do. And when I don't like it, then I do something about it.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. JENETTA, how do you feel when you look in the mirror, and would you be happy with no mirrors in your home?
I'd rather have mirrors. I think to ban mirrors means you've still got a charge about yourself, to go, okay, I'm not having a mirror and it's going away. There's something there that's making you want to not look at yourself. So it's about being able to use the mirror in a place where it serves you, rather than either obsessively looking at yourself in the mirror or going, take that mirror away. Sounds like something out of a fairy tale, but yeah, so but yeah, I have my moments. As I was saying before, there'll be times where I look at myself in the mirror and go, you know, you're okay. I'm happy with what I see. And other times, I've shared with you, Dr. Jacqueline, I got married a few weeks ago, and it had just been after World Jenny's Day. And when I'm under huge stress, I seem in my 60s now to put on a lot of weight around my hips and thighs, which never used to happen. And I looked in that mirror the day before my wedding and had trying it on because it had been lent to me, this dress. And I went, no, I like this, take the mirror away. But when I looked at all the photographs, they were fine. So I just understand the mirror serves, and it's learning how to embrace the mirror and know you're going to have days where you like what you see and days where you go, and that's fine. What I do about it is the most important part of that.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you for your transparency. We have a comment from one of our returning followers. How do you say this name?
Nuagira.
Thank you. I think that this person is in Uganda. There is a saying, which is, baby, look in the mirror. The person really
see the person.
Maybe that's it.
I really,
do love and care. Thank you. Thanks for your comment. And from Buster, mirrors are powerful. It can be used for self-reliance, check for spinach in the teeth, looking presentable, but it can be really hard if we become obsessed with looking perfect. That's a great point. Anyone who knows me, I am obsessed with tweezing. I have tweezers everywhere. I'm constantly tweezing. Sometimes I start bleeding because I'm tweezing so much. I think I actually tweezed like half my eyebrows off. And I know that's a problem, but I've been tweezing for forever. So I don't know exactly what it means. It's like I'm in control of the hair. Does that make any sense for my specialist?
Absolutely. It is about feeling in control. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's see. Maria, how do you feel when you look in the mirror, and how would you feel if you didn't have any mirrors?
Well, actually, I love to look in the mirror. I think I would die if I have to live without a mirror, because I use a mirror for validation also. And like I mentioned last week in the show, I am very much weight conscious. So I have to look in the mirror. It tells me, well, hey, you need to take off some pounds. I also use my daughter to confirm. Most of the time she says to me, Mommy, you really want me to tell you? So then I know definitely something is wrong. So also when I have to dress to go to an event, by the time I'm ready, my bed is filled with outfits because I think that I don't look good in this one or that one. And finally, the time comes up, I have to leave, and I wear something, and it's okay. It's okay. You get all these compliments. You walk away. Well, I walk away saying, if you only know how I feel.
Wow. Thank you for being so candid. I appreciate that. We have a follow-up comment from Buster. Oh, Dr. J, I do that too. A fellow tweezer. There we go. Thanks for sharing. So
I wanted to just interject here, because we got Nuagira from Uganda there, and we've mentioned this before, and I think we touched on it last week, and that is that trends of what looks okay in a woman, especially trends of what looks okay change with time. And if we take, for a really good example, the king of Buganda in Uganda, he had a number of wives, and they were all as big as what we would call in the Western world morbidly obese. And for him, they were a symbol of great beauty and great love, and they were adored. And he deliberately encouraged them to eat to get that big. It was a sign of affluence and wealth and the flow of life. And these women were joyously acknowledged for their beauty in being that size. So it depends where you are and what we have bought into believing is the truth according to our society and our belief system.
Thanks, JENETTA. You're actually getting confirmation from our follower. Thank you.
From Nuagira, yeah.
Nuagira, thank you very much. So, Maria, you get to this event, you look great, but what you had to go through before you got there, it can be exhausting, right? People have no idea what it takes. And yet people see you as you are. They go, wow, stunning, gorgeous. But yet you're feeling so many things as you're getting ready and going through the process. What have you tried, if anything, to maybe change the way you're looking at yourself?
Well, actually, it's difficult. It's really, really difficult. But I think if I'm down to the weight that I wish to be, then maybe that will help. It has very much to do with being conscious of my weight.
Thank you for sharing that. So here's a question. Do you get weight, like do you have a scale and get weight on the scale to determine the weight, or is it by the clothes? You know, my clothes feel tight, my clothes feel big, or is it something else?
Both.
Both. So you're jumping on the scale every day?
Almost, yes.
That's so hard to do, right? It's like, I have one of those scales that does your body, you know, what's it called? One of those electronic
body
scales.
weight index, body weight index scales.
Yeah, exactly. And when I started on prednisone 6 weeks, I looked at it and I said, listen, you and I are through. I'm not going to see you for a while. And I'm not. And after I finish the steroids in 4 days, I'm not getting on that scale because I'm not going to be happy. So my question is, why do we have to get weight all the time? Because we're never going to be happy every day with what it says, are we?
And I think that's the problem. So maybe I should get rid of the scale for a little bit and see how it goes. But I also love my mouth. So
okay. So what if this, and we have experts here about this. What if we gave ourselves a pass and said, as long as we're within so many pounds, like pick a number, and then you have to be within so many pounds, and then just take a breath and enjoy. Is that a good philosophy? Caroline, JENETTA?
I would say, because I used to have a bit of a fixation with the scales, and now I don't. And it was really, from my perspective, it was part of my confidence issues. You know, I had to be a certain way, and when I started gaining weight, then I didn't feel confident. And then when I became confident with who I was being rather than the way that I looked, then the scales became redundant. And I'm going to say that again. When I became confident with who I was being rather than my weight, the scales became insignificant. And yes, if I've gained a few pounds, I don't get concerned about it. But you can gain more weight by being more concerned about those extra few pounds that you gain just because you've had an indulgent meal. And you can, you know, drive yourself crazy. So it isn't good to be governed by the scales, because then you're living for what the scales say to give you feedback rather than feeling what it feels like to be yourself in your true life, in your everyday being.
Thank you, Caroline. I love the honesty here
that.
today. It's really beautiful. We've got some more comments from Buffster. I tried to stop worrying about my appearance so much. I want to be healthy, but I don't want a man to want me because I look like some Instagram model. And then a follow-up. Normally, they only want you because they become obsessed with a false idea of beauty. It attracts false love and false men, in my opinion. Now, follow-up comment. And please know, I don't mean all men are like this with the comments about Instagram models, and no hate. No, we appreciate you sharing. Thank you. So I'll share something. I haven't been in a relationship in years. And because I don't have that part of my life where I was consumed with every single facet of how I look, because I was in a relationship with somebody and I always felt I was too heavy or this wasn't right and that. And I don't have that anymore. And it's such a relief. It was like a huge weight taken off my shoulders. Now I have this green screen. My mother. So so my point is, I just feel much happier that I don't have to worry because I'm not in a relationship with someone, because I was so focused on every aspect of my appearance, if that makes sense, because I was always being scrutinized.
That's challenging if you felt in your relationships that you were scrutinized, because I didn't feel like that in my relationships in terms of the way that I looked. That I was challenged by, the relationship in itself for other reasons. The way that I looked never ever came up as a challenge for me, and that's interesting that it comes up for some people. In fact, if anything, I've been considered, in all of my years as like an adornment on somebody's arm, and like the trophy girlfriend, which is again the side of a relationship that I don't like, because I don't want to be on somebody's arm and be that trophy. I want to be, treated like any other girlfriend rather than a trophy. And that is also very debilitating, because then you're put on this pedestal and it's not as fun as it sounds. So there are two ways to look at it. Somebody's nitpicking at the way you look, or somebody just wants you as a trophy to show you off, but then there's nothing else there.
What about a third option is, and I've never had this, but somebody's happy with you just as you are?
Oh, that would be lovely.
That is where I am after years, a lifetime of relationships, where how I looked and how I felt about myself was a reflection of how the man in my life thought about me and felt. So that is where I am now, because Andy just loves me for who I am. And it's such an amazing breath of fresh air as I've realized that it's me who's changed. I no longer have attracted somebody into my life where I attach what they feel and they want as being the most important thing. And the moment I dropped that, Andy stepped into my life.
Wow. Congratulations again. We're really happy for you. It's excellent.
Thank you.
We've got some more comments. Buffster, we love the fact that you are engaging with us. So comments, oh wait, sorry, I missed the first one. Oh, Lordy, yes, being the trophy. And then getting comments like, yeah, you should smile more, like you better when you were thinner. Yeah. Good for you. Looking after yourself first now. I want a partner, not a dictator. And we have another follow-up. JENETTA knows Uganda well. Even the king, long time ago in 60s, he used to exchange ivory to white people. Then they had to give him the mirror. JENETTA, you want to comment on that?
I mean, that whole history of the King of Buganda is a very interesting one, and probably a topic for another show. But I mean, the chiefs of African countries were a different breed and a different generation, and he was the king of Buganda. So there were things that worked in that, and there were things that didn't. And of course, the ivory was one of them, and slavery too, and slavery over to the East and Far East, Middle East, and so on. Which actually is another thing, is that I was reading the other day the amount of white slaves that were taken from England and Iceland for 400 years over to Morocco. It happens. The moment you got anything or anywhere with a dictator, you're going to have that happening. It's happened worldwide. So
it sounds like we've got
it's very associated to the type of man we attract, that dictator, as Louise was saying, that dictator.
We've got a follow-up. Barry, you're Barry, by the way, now. Barry,
I'm Barry.
please reply to my emails I need to share with you. I'll give you your number, please. I beg.
Yes.
Get in
Wagira,
touch.
yes. And Jumbo, and Kweli, and Sawa, and Karibu.
Thank you, Janetta. So, Mariska, you're there in New Zealand. What is it like in terms of, you know, in the United States? I'm sure people are aware of the pressure that is, I'm going to say, to look a certain way, especially Instagram. We were talking about that earlier. Everybody looks a certain way and has tons of money and houses and cars. And what is it like in New Zealand? Is it pressure to look a certain way, to conform?
There is and there isn't, and it's very weird in the sense that there is, I think it depends on the person and the individual, because in some cases you have a movement for being body proud, and then in other cases there is it's almost as if as a species we have this tendency that we don't quite understand where the balance should be. So we swing our pendulums way to the one side or way to the other side. And we can't quite find that middle ground. And I have seen that sort of happens with conversations about how we look like, conversations about genders, conversations about, oh, you pick the topic, anything really. You have these very, very broad, polarizing views. And if you really look at it, it's a scale. And you can always find the middle if you are so inclined. But most people, for some odd reason, don't like the middle too much. So, yeah, there is and there isn't, and it depends on who you talk to. So it's very interesting for me that people do certain things a certain way. So one of the things that I've been exposed to is a lot of people going to veganism or vegetarianism as a form of weight control, and or a form of saving the planet because they have certain views about it. So it's interesting how we attach certain behaviors to certain outcomes that we want, and it may or may not serve that outcome. And yes, I suspect when we are more in the public eye, such as Instagram, such as, I don't know, whatever form of media that you want to be on, people have a tendency to want to only show the perfectness. Like Jenetta mentioned earlier with our celebrities. They want to show up good, right? I mean, we want to be perceived as being good, healthy human beings. But sometimes we're not. And that's it's part of being a human. We just need to remember that is the way it works, and it is okay.
Thank you, Mariska. Yeah, I hear like a B. I'm wondering if the spelling bee came from the other show. Anyone hear any buzzing around? So, well, thanks for sharing the perspective of how you see things there in New Zealand. What about in St. Martin, Maria?
Yes. In St. Martin, it's a little bit different because we have 120 nationalities here. So everyone came with their culture. And they maintain and entertain that. So we don't run in competition with each other. We respect each other's culture, and that's just how it is.
Okay. Wow. Thank you for sharing that. I just went ahead and muted everyone when we're not talking. So this is such a good conversation. And I love the fact that we have the five of us here from different parts of the world, all with different experiences. And yet something that's interesting is it sounds like at some point we've all felt these same things. And when we do the work, then we see ourselves in a different way, but then something happens. And then we have to do more work, and then we get distracted, then we fall into bad patterns. And so it just seems like it's an endless cycle. And hello to Katie Stelfox. Nice to have you with us there in the UK. So for people who are watching, let's say they're unhappy with how they look. What can we share with them to help them see themselves for the beauty that is inside, the beauty that is there, inside, outside? What are your thoughts? Let's start with JENETTA.
Yeah, this is very, very close to my heart because it's actually a follow-on to what you just said, Dr. Jacqueline, before you moved to this. And in my opinion, bringing that internal conversation deep inside you into a place of manageability is what I call daily mental and emotional gym. So when we're in the perception that the only thing that needs working out is our physical bodies, off to gym, or for me, it's ballet and a little bit of walking and running. There's the missing is that every day it's about bringing that overthinking and those deep emotions into a place where you can manage them and work them out and become fit in the way you think and you feel. And when those two are in a place of mental and emotional fitness, you can't come to the next day and go, well, I'm going to stop now for the rest of my life. It's a never-ending story of bringing yourself into mental and emotional fitness in alignment with bringing your body physically into there. And I'm really passionate about that because when you do, there's no looking back.
Thank you so much, JENETTA. And again, it's going on midnight where JENETTA is, and she's still going strong. She's buzzing from the spelling bee. Mariska, what can you share with us?
I think for me, I absolutely agree with JENETTA. The more we discover about ourselves and really accept who we are, the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between, the more comfortable we are with who we are as a human being, and the more comfortable we can be with the other human beings around us. I mean, if I'm going to accept that I'm a lion, then I don't want to be a cheetah or something else anymore because I'm a lion, and it's good to be a lion. There's pros and cons and all sorts of things in between, but I'm okay with being what I am. And I think that's the main thing we need to do as human beings. And for a lot of us, we don't take the time to do that. First, discover ourselves as an individual. And then we can go, okay, so what does that mean? How do I then bring this to the rest of the world? Instead of expecting everybody else to do it for us and then us feeling okay about it. And I think if we have that, we will most probably get to the balance.
Well said. Thank you very much. Let's go over to Maria.
So I also agree with what JENETTA said, and there should definitely be a balance. I have learned a lot from the experts here today, and I will definitely take it into consideration and use the advice given, to see how it will go. But it's really difficult for me. So I'm going to try to balance it and, get on that scale where I say, well, hey, I am comfortable with this, so I get so much.
Well, I really appreciate how honest and open you've been. That's not easy to do. And I'm just thank you so much because you're helping me, you're helping everyone by being honest and letting people know how you feel. Caroline, over to you.
Well, I do believe that situations, circumstances, and events change the way that we feel and the way that we look. And I agree with everything that everybody has said. And adding on to that is that if we've gone through a marriage breakdown, a divorce, a family sickness, if we've gone through a crisis in a work situation, or a friendship, you know, these things can change the way that we're feeling inside about ourselves and about the situation that we're in. Certainly, I know that bereavement, when somebody has actually passed over, that has hugely affected me. And I know many people that when they've lost somebody very close to them, has affected them in terms of the way that they do things, the way that they approach things, and the way that they feel inside. There is a song, a very old 60s song, "It May As Well Rain Until September." It can be gloriously sunny outside and everybody is, you know, sort of enjoying the sun, but inside that you'll feel like it's raining. And so I do believe it also is situational and circumstance in terms of what's happening in your life at that time. And so we all can't be on top of everything all of the time, but when we are on top of things, then we can, you know, we can look at the different ways that we feel in our different situations. That isn't to bring anybody down, but that's being real. You know, we have real stuff to handle and real stuff to deal with, and it's wonderful when we feel great and it's summer and everything's wonderful and sunny and it's all good. But you know, we also have the things that are not so good that we have to handle. And I believe that when things are not going well and there's a situation that's difficult is when we probably don't feel that great when we look in the mirror.
Thank you, Caroline. That was powerful. We have a comment from Katie. I've just lost my dad on the 3rd of November, so I can relate to loss. Oh, we're so sorry. And you have people here who can help you, people you can speak with. So please do reach out. All right, we have had a great conversation, so authentic. And Buffster writes, "This is a wonderful, intimate, honest talk. Thank you." And I thank you and each and every one of you for just showing up and for being so real. Next week, we are going to talk a little bit about, and I don't know if any of you have ever done this or you know people who do this, but you give compliments and they make a lot of excuses. "You look good today." "Oh, not really. I'm so heavy. I just put on all this weight. I hate this dress. I don't even know." Okay, sorry. So why do we do that? Why do people do that? And then also, when we're with someone who really does love themselves and it's not over the top ego driven, it's a nice place to be, as opposed to when someone's seriously unhappy with themselves, because the person who likes themselves isn't spending all the time talking about how much they hate themselves. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Nice topic. I'm sorry I'm going to miss you next week.
Well, you're welcome to join us again. You know where to find us.
I will be at a house ceremony indulging.
Oh, that's right. You'll be gone. Well, this has been a fun show. We have another show right after this. So we're going to go around as we always do. And there are new people who are watching and getting to know us. We've got another comment. Thank you. Love all of my mummies on this show. I love you. Thank you so much. Just let people know, how can you help them in a succinct way? What do you offer and how can you help people? Mariska.
Ooh, I'm first. Okay, so the way I help people is through when you are moving through transformation within your leadership space. So this might be moving into leadership or moving up in leadership. I help you just connect your humanness a little bit more to what you do within your workspace. And you can contact me, of course, via my email, which is mariska@journey2discover.com.
Thank you so much, Mariska. Over to Jenetta so she can get some sleep.
Yes, please. Yes, so I assist people you know, anything that you judge in yourself, you reflect outside to yourself and often attract the very parts of yourself that you dislike or even despise. And you bring people and circumstances into your life that reflect the very things you dislike. So what I do is I help you to start those new internal conversations with really accurate questions and skills, and it changes that loop with other people, and they start responding instantaneously in a different way to you that's more balanced, and you feel appreciative of them and more accepting, and they're more accepting of you, and new conversations start from your place of wisdom. So that's what I can do with you, and I'm at JENETTA at theepiphanyprocess.com.
Thank you, Jenetta. And again, staying up till midnight to be with us after that tough spelling bee competition. Thank you. Okay, and let's go over to our two guests for today. Maria, how can you help people and how can they find you?
Yes, I can empower others globally, internationally, empower them to live their best lives, to claim their space on the success ladder. Know that you can be anything that you wish to be in this lifetime. You can reach me at my email, mariadeduardo@hotmail.com. You can also find me on Facebook and LinkedIn. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And also recovering from the spelling bee and staying up late, Caroline, how can people get in touch with you and how can you help them?
Well, I help people that literally are stressed out, whether it's physical, emotional, mental, or behavioral. I work with root cause therapy, which aligns itself through chakra psychology. So how the mind and body connects and what happens to the person physically, emotionally, mentally, behaviorally when there's an imbalance. And the imbalance is a symptom, whether it be relationship issues, bereavement issues, anger management, or physical ache and pain, or emotional sadness, loneliness, heartache, or mental depression, anxiety, stress. It's whatever really you're complaining about. I identify very quickly the root cause of where it first began, and the emotions will lift and you will feel clearer. I've been clearing and balancing chakras for over 20 years. I offer a free consultation. You can reach me on No More Stress at live.co.uk to book it in. It's 30 minutes, either on Zoom, Skype, or by phone. You can reach me by phone on +44 if you're international, 07523 120 189.
Thank you very much, Caroline. I appreciate it. And for anyone who wants to reach out to me, in addition to running this fabulous platform and staying up at night, coming up with ideas like the spelling bee, I also teach people how to listen at an elevated level. And everyone here is certified as an elevated listener, which means these people have taken the time to learn how to listen. They don't judge, interrupt. They do not try to steal the stage, and they certainly do not try to give you a solution when you didn't ask for one. So if you're interested in joining our cause to get everybody certified as an elevated listener, you can go and sign up for the Power of Listening. It's a 2-hour course. You take it at your convenience whenever it works for you. It's $39, and then you get to join our team, and the possibilities are just endless from there. So thank you again for being here and for sharing this time. Thank you for everybody who's been engaging with us. We really do appreciate you. We will be back next week. We've got another show coming up right after this. So bye for now. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.